Chosen one, lock your attention on my voice right now. Silence the thought that says you are behind, overlooked, or still waiting for your real life to begin. That pressure in your chest, that restless feeling you cannot explain, that sense that something is about to change, do not dismiss it. The last 72 hours may have felt unusually intense. Maybe you have been exhausted even after sleeping, carrying a weight in your bones while pretending everything is fine. Perhaps you looked at your life yesterday and wondered why your progress seems invisible, even though you have sacrificed, endured, and kept moving when nobody applauded. Or maybe you woke up around 300 in the morning with your mind racing, replaying old decisions and asking whether all your effort has truly mattered. But hear me clearly, you are under pressure because you are carrying evidence of a massive win. The enemy is working overtime today for one reason. It can sense that your season of limitation is losing its grip. You are not being challenged because you are disqualified. You are being tested because you are standing near a level of visibility, influence, provision, and freedom you have never experienced before, and it is happening now. The confusion, the self-doubt, the waiting, the constant feeling that you must prove yourself, it begins to end in this season, not because of luck, but because of what you have already done. You kept going. You learned the lesson. You stopped begging for access to places that could not honor you. You chose discipline when distraction was easier. Think back to that moment this week when you almost quit, when you stayed silent, walked away, rejected the old temptation, or completed one small task nobody else noticed. You thought it was insignificant. You thought you were merely surviving. But that was not weakness. That was the decision that protected your future. You did not lose momentum. You were building strength beneath the surface. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here alone. Divine timing brought you to this moment because you are ready to recognize what has already been placed in your hands. This is not a message about chasing the distant breakthrough. It is a divine appointment to help you identify the victory you have been underestimating. In the next few minutes, you will receive the spiritual audit that reveals where you have already won. You will hear the decree that breaks agreement with the lie that you are behind. And before this message ends, you will declare the truth that your next level is not waiting for permission from your past. Do not click away. Your future self needs you to stay present. If you keep calling your preparation a failure, you may overlook the door opening in front of you. You may return to a cycle you already escaped, simply because the new path feels unfamiliar. The enemy has been whispering a specific lie. Nothing has changed. You are still the same person. You have nothing to show for all that you endured. It has been replaying every rejection, every delay, every unanswered prayer, trying to convince you that your quiet season was proof of defeat. But Scripture says, do not despise these small beginnings. That is the verdict. Small does not mean meaningless. Hidden does not mean forgotten. What you built in silence is now becoming strong enough to stand in public. The heaviness you feel is not proof that you are losing. It is the weight of a victory you have not yet learned how to carry. You are not starting from nothing. You are standing on everything you survived, everything you surrendered, and everything you refused to become. Chosen one, you are not waiting for your big time. You are already sitting on a massive win. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. It also comes with the full audiobook, so you can absorb it during prayer, rest, or quiet moments with God. And for those called to speak His truth, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook for those carrying a prophetic assignment. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now listen carefully, because the reason you have underestimated what you've done is not because you lack evidence. It is because you became so accustomed to surviving that you stopped recognizing your own strength. You measured the miracle by how exhausted you felt while carrying it. You looked at the scars, the delays, the doors that closed, and the nights you cried in silence, and you concluded that you were behind. You mistook weariness for failure because you had been carrying responsibilities that were never visible to the people watching you. You forgot that some of the hardest victories are won in rooms where there is no audience, no applause, and no one to confirm that you are doing better than you think. But heaven has been looking at something else. Heaven has been looking at the fact that you kept moving when nobody applauded. You kept your heart alive when disappointment tried to turn it cold. You kept believing in purpose while circumstances kept presenting proof that you should quit. That is not a small thing. That is not ordinary endurance. There are victories that do not arrive with noise. Some victories look like getting out of bed. Some look like refusing to become cruel after being mistreated. Some look like choosing discipline when your emotions were begging for escape. Some victories look like praying one more time when your voice feels empty, forgiving without receiving an apology, or choosing not to send the message that would have reopened an old wound. There were days when you had every reason to surrender to bitterness, yet you still searched for a reason to remain tender. There were moments when you could have allowed disappointment to become your identity, but you kept a small flame alive inside you. Even when that flame was no larger than an ember, God saw it. The world may celebrate the person who rises suddenly, but heaven remembers the one who kept crawling through the dark before anyone saw them stand. You have been calling those moments nothing, but they were building the person capable of carrying something significant. Every time you chose restraint over reaction, truth over convenience, and obedience over immediate relief, something within you was being strengthened. Character was being formed in hidden places. Your inner life was becoming a foundation, and foundations are not glamorous while they are being laid. They are buried beneath the visible structure, unseen but essential. Yet when the storm comes, the building remains because of what nobody thought was worth noticing. This is where the hidden barrier begins to surface. You're not only underestimating what you have done, you are underestimating who you became while doing it. You keep waiting for a visible reward before you give yourself permission to believe that transformation has already occurred. You want the finished testimony before you honor the process that produced it. But David did not become a warrior when he entered the palace. He became one in the field, where nobody saw him protecting sheep from danger. He became one beneath the open sky, with a staff in his hand, and danger approaching through the darkness. The public victory with Goliath was simply the moment the private preparation became impossible to ignore. And something similar has been happening in you. The battle did not create your strength, it revealed it. The pressure did not give you a spine, it showed you that one was already there. The wilderness did not place courage inside you. It uncovered the courage that comfort had kept hidden. You have been interpreting the difficulty as evidence that you were abandoned, when some of it was evidence that you were being trained to stand without the familiar supports you once depended on. So stop using the current appearance of your life as the only measurement of your progress. A seed underground looks buried before it looks planted. A person in preparation often feels forgotten before they become undeniable. What feels like obscurity may be the place where your roots are becoming strong enough to survive visibility. The tree does not panic because no one applauds its roots. It continues descending into the soil, gathering strength in silence, because it understands that height without depth is dangerous. You may be looking at an unfinished chapter and calling it a failed story. You may be standing in the middle of a process and judging yourself as though you should already be at the conclusion. But God sees the roots beneath the surface. He sees the prayers you prayed when no answer came quickly. He sees the choices you made when no reward followed immediately. Nothing surrendered in faith is wasted. Even the seasons that appeared empty may have been filling you with wisdom, patience, and spiritual weight. But here's where it goes deeper. You must begin to honor the evidence of growth that does not look dramatic. Notice how you respond differently now. Notice the conversations you no longer chase. Notice the approval you no longer beg for. Notice the habits you once defended but now recognize as chains. Notice the peace that has become more valuable to you than being understood by everyone. Notice how quickly you recognize confusion, manipulation, and false urgency. Notice how you no longer need to enter every argument simply because someone invited you into one. That is progress. Progress is not always a new house, a new title, or a sudden financial increase. Sometimes progress is a quieter mind. Sometimes it is the ability to pause before reacting. Sometimes it is no longer abandoning yourself to keep someone else from leaving. It is the courage to sit alone without assuming you have been forgotten. It is the ability to hear no without deciding that you are worthless. It is the wisdom to recognize that peace may feel unfamiliar when chaos was once your normal environment. You may not be standing in the place you imagined, but you are not standing where you used to be. The old version of you would have returned to what wounded you simply because it was familiar. The old version would have confused access with love, pressure with purpose, and attention with alignment. But something in you has awakened. You have begun to recognize that every open door is not a divine invitation, and every closed door is not rejection. Some doors open because they are traps disguised as opportunities. Some doors close because mercy is standing in the doorway, refusing to let you walk into what would have drained the life from you. You once measured favor by how easily things happened. But now you are learning that protection can look like interruption. A delay can be a form of direction. A disappointment can be a rescue you are not yet mature enough to appreciate. And once you understand that, your disappointment begins to lose its authority. You thought the delay was proof that you had been denied. What if it was proof that God was refusing to let you enter too early? What if the doors that did not open were protecting the version of your destiny that could not yet be trusted with exposure? Moses had to leave the palace before he could understand the wilderness. The wilderness did not erase his calling. It stripped away the identity he had borrowed from a system that could never define him. Before he could lead a nation, he had to become acquainted with silence, obscurity, responsibility, and the voice of God, away from the noise of Egypt. You too have been separated from certain environments because your next identity could not be formed in the presence of people committed to your former one. Some people only know how to relate to the version of you that needed their permission. Some environments can tolerate your dreams only as long as those dreams remain small. Some relationships were comfortable when you were constantly explaining, rescuing, giving, and apologizing. But when you began to heal, the balance changed, and what had been called love began to reveal itself as dependence. This is why some relationships became uncomfortable. This is why certain conversations began to feel empty. This is why you could no longer celebrate what once impressed you. Your spirit was not becoming difficult, it was becoming discerning. When your inner world changes, old surroundings begin to feel like clothing that no longer fits. You may still remember how it felt to wear that garment, but memory does not mean you are required to put it on again. And now you must act accordingly. Do not keep returning to places simply because people there remember who you were. Do not keep shrinking so others can remain comfortable with your growth. You are not required to make your future look familiar to those who benefited from your limitations. You can honor where you came from without living there. You can love people without handing them control over your direction. You can be grateful for what a season taught you without begging that season to continue. Stay with me, because what comes next is the part many people resist. Your breakthrough may require you to stop explaining why you deserve it. You have spent too long presenting evidence to people who had already decided to misunderstand you. You have narrated your pain, justified your choices, defended your heart, and tried to make your motives acceptable to those committed to seeing you through the lens of your past. You have brought documents to a courtroom where the verdict was written before you entered. But Nehemiah did not leave the wall every time someone mocked the work. He understood that responding to every accusation would become another form of abandoning the assignment. You lead that same focus now. Not every voice deserves a response. Not every accusation deserves an investigation. Not every misunderstanding is a spiritual emergency. Sometimes the most powerful answer is continued obedience. There will be people who interpret your boundaries as pride, your silence as weakness, your growth as betrayal, and your distance as arrogance. You cannot build your destiny while continually climbing down from the wall to correct every rumor circulating below it. Keep building when the people who doubted you suddenly become curious. Keep building when validation arrives late. Keep building when the results are still too small for others to admire. Keep building when the first attempt does not resemble the dream. Keep building when your progress is measured in inches rather than miles. Your responsibility is not to force people to recognize the work. Your responsibility is to become so aligned with the work that recognition is no longer the reason you continue. There is a sacred freedom that comes when obedience becomes its own reward. You stop asking, "Who noticed?" and begin asking, "Was I faithful?" You stop measuring the value of your effort by the size of the audience and begin measuring it by the sincerity of the offering. A widow's 2 coins were small in the eyes of the crowd, but heaven measured the sacrifice differently. Never assume that what looks insignificant in public is insignificant to God. But first, this has to land. You cannot receive a massive win with a mindset trained only for scarcity. Some people pray for increase while secretly preparing to lose it. They expect betrayal, so they sabotage trust. They expect rejection, so they withdraw before anyone can get close. They expect failure, so they refuse to commit completely. They expect success to attract danger, so they keep their dreams small enough to feel safe. They call it realism, but beneath the language may be an old agreement with fear. They have learned to survive by expecting disappointment, and now disappointment feels safer than hope. You may have been asking God to enlarge your life while unconsciously protecting yourself from the responsibility of enlargement. You may want the harvest but still be emotionally organized around famine. You may ask for healthy love while remaining loyal to the belief that closeness always ends in pain. You may pray for influence while hiding every gift that could make you visible. The answer cannot fully occupy a space you keep defending against it. The widow in the days of Elisha did not receive provision by staring at the empty jar. She gathered vessels. Her faith became practical. She made room before the oil multiplied. That is the instruction for you now. Make room. Clear the schedule. Strengthen the skill. Repair the discipline. Organize the finances. Guard your attention. Prepare your character for the answer you keep requesting. Make room in your calendar for the work. Make room in your mind by releasing the constant rehearsal of worst-case scenarios. Make room in your relationships by allowing people to support you without assuming there is a hidden cost. Make room in your spirit by believing that goodness does not always have to be followed by loss. The oil flowed according to the capacity prepared to receive it. The limitation was not in the supply, it was in the number of vessels brought forward. A miracle can be real and still require structure. You cannot keep treating preparation as optional and then call the consequences of disorder bad timing. The next level will not only demand inspiration from you, it will demand stewardship. What you have prayed for must be protected by what you are willing to practice. If you want influence, practice consistency. If you want abundance, practice wisdom. If you want a healthy covenant, practice honesty and boundaries. If you want to carry a prophetic word, practice humility, patience, and discernment. The gift may open the door, but character determines whether you can remain in the room. And just when you think the main obstacle is external, another layer appears. Your greatest threat may not be the people who do not believe in you. It may be the part of you that still needs them to. That is a difficult truth, but it is freeing. If your confidence depends on your critics becoming silent, then your critics still have power. If your peace depends on everyone agreeing with your direction, then you have handed your authority away. Jesus did not become obedient because every person around him understood the assignment. He moved from the approval of heaven, not the applause of the crowd. Even when misunderstood, rejected, and falsely accused, he remained anchored in what the Father had spoken. You must learn to let misunderstanding exist without allowing it to define you. Some people will never see the full story because they only encountered one chapter. Some will judge the boundary without knowing the years of exhaustion that made it necessary. Some will call you changed as though change were a crime. Let them speak. Their interpretation is not your identity. This does not mean becoming arrogant. It means becoming rooted. Humility is not thinking less of your calling, so other people will feel comfortable. Humility is accepting that the gift came from God and refusing to bury it because somebody else feels threatened by its light. A lamp does not become prideful because it gives light. It simply fulfills the purpose for which it was lit. There is a difference between being teachable and being endlessly available to doubt. Receive correction from the wise, but do not confuse every opinion with instruction. Discern the source, discern the fruit. Discern whether the voice is helping you become more faithful or merely making you more afraid. Wisdom may challenge you, but manipulation will confuse you. Conviction may lead you toward repentance, but condemnation will insist that you are beyond restoration. Learn to recognize the difference. Coming up, we are going even deeper, because the final chain is often disguised as responsibility. It sounds mature, it sounds cautious, but it may be the very thing keeping you from moving. You have been waiting to feel completely ready. You have been calling it wisdom, but sometimes it is fear, wearing a thoughtful expression. You tell yourself you need more information, more money, more confirmation, more support, more certainty. Yet there comes a moment when preparation becomes procrastination, with spiritual language attached to it. You keep asking for another sign, because the sign you already received requires courage. Peter did not discover whether he could walk on water by studying the waves. He had to respond to the invitation. His step was not proof that the storm had ended. It was proof that the voice calling him was greater than the environment threatening him. The water did not become safe before he stepped out. Faith did not remove the risk. Faith gave him a reason to move through it. You do not need perfect confidence to take the next obedient step. You need enough trust to move while your hands are still shaking. Courage is not the absence of trembling. Courage is deciding that trembling will not be your master. Many doors will not open until you place your hand on them. Many gifts will not become clear until you begin using them. Many answers will meet you on the road rather than in the place where you are waiting. Do the thing you have delayed because you were afraid of being judged. Send the message, submit the work, begin the practice, apply for the opportunity, set the boundary, tell the truth. You may not feel powerful when you begin, but power often meets you in motion. The first step may feel awkward, but awkward beginnings are not evidence of divine disapproval. They are often the sound of a new muscle being used for the first time. And when you move, expect resistance not because you are wrong, but because movement disturbs patterns. The moment you stop feeding an old cycle, that cycle may become louder. The moment you stop answering the same manipulation, the manipulator may intensify. The moment you stop betraying yourself to preserve peace, people accustomed to your silence may call you difficult. Even your own mind may attempt to pull you back toward what is familiar, whispering that the old pain is safer than the new unknown. Do not mistake their discomfort for your disobedience. You are allowed to disappoint the version of people that only loved your availability. You are allowed to become less accessible to chaos. You are allowed to let a chapter end without turning its ending into a courtroom. Ruth did not remain in Moab to prove loyalty to a place that could not carry her future. She stepped into an unknown field, and there she found the beginning of a new covering. She did not know every detail of the road ahead. She only knew that remaining where she was would not fulfill what was calling her forward. Sometimes your big win begins with a quiet departure. No announcement, no dramatic confrontation, no final speech designed to make everyone understand. You simply stop returning. You stop negotiating with what God has already asked you to release. You walk toward the field where provision has been prepared, even if you do not yet know the name of the person who will help reveal it. But here's the part you probably did not expect. The win you are sitting on may not be the opportunity you are waiting to receive. It may be the wisdom you gained from everything that did not work. You keep asking, when will I get something? While heaven is asking, what will you do with what you now know? You have discernment you did not possess before. You recognize patterns earlier. You can sense when something is counterfeit. You know what overextending feels like. You know the cost of abandoning your own voice. You know the difference between a door that requires courage and a door that requires self-betrayal. You know when an apology is genuine and when it is simply an invitation back into the same cycle. You know the difference between being needed and being valued. That knowledge is wealth. The pain taught you what comfort could not. The betrayal taught you what access must never be given casually again. The delay taught you patience, but it also taught you to stop worshipping speed. The rejection taught you that being refused by people is not the same as being rejected by God. The season of uncertainty taught you to seek direction, rather than merely seeking relief. You learned that not every blessing is beneficial, and not every loss is a punishment. Your history did not only hurt you, it trained you. And now the most confronting truth is this: you may be grieving the old life while asking for the new one. You may say you want expansion, but still be emotionally attached to the identity that survived limitation. You may keep revisiting old memories because pain is the last place where the former version of you still feels important. Sometimes you hold on to the wound because releasing it feels like releasing the proof that what happened mattered. But you cannot keep making an altar out of what God is asking you to release. Forgiveness does not mean pretending the wound was harmless. Release does not mean allowing the person back into your life. It means refusing to let what happened become the authority over what happens next. Joseph did not deny the pit, but he refused to make the pit his permanent address. He carried the lesson forward without carrying the prison around his neck. He remembered the betrayal, but he did not allow betrayal to determine the kind of leader he would become. Your future does not need you to forget. It needs you to stop kneeling before the memory. You can remember without rehearsing. You can learn without reliving. You can acknowledge that something broke you in one season while believing that God is rebuilding you in another. The scar may remain, but it no longer has to be an open door for the past to govern the present. And here is the final shift. The reason you underestimate your victory may be because you're expecting it to look like revenge. You think the win will be the moment everyone who dismissed you sees you rise. You imagine their regret as proof that you were right. But if your victory requires their humiliation, you are still emotionally connected to the people you claim to have outgrown. The greater win is not that they finally recognize you. The greater win is that you no longer need recognition to remain faithful. Their applause may come late, or it may never come. But your obedience cannot be built on a reward that belongs to someone else's opinion. God can bless you in such a way that you no longer need to explain the blessing. He can heal you so deeply that you stop checking whether the people who hurt you have noticed. The greater win is becoming so whole that you can prosper without performing your prosperity. So healed that you can walk away without announcing your departure. So secure that you can celebrate someone else without feeling that their success cancels yours. So aligned that you can receive increase without becoming the person who once wounded you. So free that you no longer need to make your future a public argument against your past. That is the massive win already forming in you. Your life is not merely being upgraded. Your motives are being purified. Your capacity is being expanded. Your heart is being taught how to carry what your hands have been asking for. This is why the season felt slower than you wanted. God was not only preparing a blessing for you, He was preparing you to remain yourself after the blessing arrived. He was teaching you how to hold power without becoming harsh, wealth without becoming careless, influence without becoming vain, and visibility without abandoning the quiet place where your character was formed. The blessing is not only what arrives in your hands, it is who you are able to remain when it does. It is the peace you refuse to trade for access. It is the wisdom to recognize when abundance has become an assignment rather than an ornament. It is the ability to say, "This came from God, and I will not use it to prove myself to people." Place your hand over your heart and declare this with me. I honor what I have survived, and I recognize what it has produced in me. I release the need to be understood by everyone. I release the fear of being seen. I release the identity built around rejection, delay, and scarcity. I receive wisdom, courage, discipline, and divine direction. I will not bury what God has developed in me. I will not bury what God has developed in me. I will make room for increase, and I will steward it with humility. I am not behind. I am not forgotten. I am not disqualified. I am becoming ready for what I once only prayed to survive. And if this message reached a place in you that words rarely reach, do not rush past it. Sit with it. Write down the victory you have been minimizing. Name the door you are afraid to approach. Then take one obedient action before this day ends. And if you are willing to acknowledge that you are no longer the person you used to be, write, "I recognize my victory," in the comments, not as a performance for anyone else, but as a declaration before God that you will no longer overlook what He has already done in you.